this is the bee kit, and we're gonna make a little cute fuzzy bee. This kit makes 2 of these so they can have a friend. And the eyes and tail are optional. There's a little bit of natural white thrown in, so you can make eyes and a tail, and you can make a bigger tail. So you also get a nice 4-inch sponge pad mat to needle fill on. And we give you 2 5-gram rolls of natural black. So this is, not dyed. The yellow is dyed, however. So a gram or so of this. It comes with 2 36 triangle needles. 36 is the second needle in the rainbow. So it goes 32, 36, 38, 40, 42, and the purple's a 46, which is the crown. But so we're going to use the 36 triangle for this today. It comes with 3 antennae that you can felt over to attach. You can use glue if you want, but I just use a little bit of felt. We have a wing template that you can cut out, and 100% wool felt for you to use for the wings. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab a pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut these out. Okay, so now that I have them cut out, I am going to trace them onto my wool felt. And then I'm going to cut them. So now that I have these, I'll be able to make 2 sets. I have plenty left over. And you can make bigger rings, or if you make a whole bunch of bees, like you can make 4 small bees instead of 2 large bees. But what I really want you to do is play with your wool. So this is natural wool, undyed. It does have some VM in it, the vegetable matter. It's up to you if you want to pick it out. It usually isn't big pieces, so it shouldn't hurt the needle. This is also going to have some white hairs in here. That's usually guard hairs, and guard hairs don't have any notches. I'm sorry, they don't have any scales on them for the notches on the needles to catch. So they won't felt, but they add texture to your makes. Sometimes you want a textured make, and sometimes you want a smooth make. So when you use a natural fiber, you're definitely going to get a natural look. So this roll came in some pieces, which is fine. You should be playing with your wool. You know, you can't tear it apart like this. It's always very strong. You have to pull it apart from opposite ends. And don't forget, when you get to the yellow, I'll show you, you can also split your wool by the thickness of it too. Instead of going this way, you can get it thinner by going that way. But we're gonna make a nice big chunky bee. So I'm gonna take all my wool. I'm gonna leave a little bit. Like this is probably way too much for the dot of the eye and just to cover over the antenna. But it might be enough for all 2 bees, or if I do 3. But I'm gonna start with this roll, and you can use a chopstick if you have one to give it nice and tight, but it's a pretty thick wool, so it's kind of easy. You can turn in the sides if you want, if it's spreading out too thin. But this is a really easy project, so you don't really have to worry too much about that. So this is a 36 triangle, so I'm just going to use the one for my rainbow. I instantly know what size I'm using because I put them in order of the rainbow. It's Pocket Felton's Rainbow Needle System. And it's really helpful, especially when you get into twisted and stars. And there'll be videos soon about why you would want to use each one and what each one does in close-up detail. I'm gonna have lots and lots and lots of detailed needle videos because I find it fascinating and I'm always learning, so I just spread that. So this is, you know, staying together as a nice cylinder. We made this log. So if there's some guard hairs or VM near the face, I might want to pull those out and tuck those in the middle of something later, right? So his middle feels a little thinner than the edges. So I'm just gonna draft this. I'm gonna stretch it out without breaking the fiber length. I mean, it's a pretty simple example of what drafting is. I'm gonna wrap it around the middle just to make it even. Now, this is about 1 inch thick, and the notches are also go just under 1 inch. So the last notch, as you're poking it in, it only needs to be poked in no more than 1 inch, because after that it's just moving the fiber even further and it's not attaching. Oh, we'll bleep that out. That didn't make sense. So I'm picking out fiber with my needle. Don't do this at home, folks, unless you have a 36 or 32 and it's gentle pulling or dragging of fibers, because you don't want to bend your needle. Once you bend the needle, you can not unbend it. Now I recommend when you're working with anything pure black or pure white to put a piece of wool felt in a similar color or linen on top of your felting mat. This is a fairly new wool mat I got for my desk just for this purpose, and to do pictures on. The other side I've done pictures on, but it's clean right now, and I mostly hold my makes. I don't use a mat a lot unless I'm doing 2D. I learned how to needle felt without a mat because, you know, back in my day we had to walk a mile barefoot to school and there were no needle felting mats. I'm kidding. My mom did walk barefoot to school on a dirt road until winter. That's when they wore their shoes to school, and she walked a mile up a couple of hills to get to her one-room schoolhouse, like Little House on the Prairie. They taught her calculus in 10th grade, and then she said she learned how to count by counting deer in the field in Nova Scotia. How sweet is that? Nice, sweet little memory. All right, so my bee is kind of long. You know, he's fine. But if you wanted him to be shorter, you can help the process along by using your hand. Don't forget your hands. You can do some dry felting. This is giving you friction and heat. It's going to smooth out the roll. But you can also, if you squish this, down, if I wanted a shorter bee and I'm poking downwards, I should have measured it first for you. But this is gonna give you, this is gonna be quicker. See how we have the indent already? Than just doing this. Because if you compress it with your hand and then poke it, you may want to use finger guards. Your kit doesn't come with finger guards. I do have them available, but most people find them cumbersome. They're great for the first 30 seconds, and then once you poke yourself, you learn how to not poke yourself. So, I've kind of made him wonky now. Now he's not even him out. But no, he's definitely, but we're gonna put the yellow there. So if we put the yellow there, it won't. Look, he's wonky. Wonky is the word of the day. So if I'm needle felting this way, it's gonna make it thinner. If I'm needle felting this way, it's gonna make it shorter. And if I'm going in at an angle, it's also because of the angle pointing in, it's gonna also make it shorter. Anything cylindrical that you want it to stay cylindrical, you want to keep it moving. Just keep poking and moving it with your hand. So this is a really fun, easy, quick make. I made it with kids in mind, young at heart, 9 to 99. With some leeway there if you're a patient 8-year-old. I know a lot of young kids will want to try needle felting, and some stick with it. Okay, so here we go. Now I have all this leftover wool for the first 5 grams, and this is the next 5 grams. Guard hairs everywhere. So you have plenty of wool. You can make a bunch of little bees with this. So now I'm gonna take yellow. There we go. I'm gonna open it up, unroll it. Now again, this is kind of thick, so remember, you can tear it apart this way so you get thinner pieces, or you can tear it this way to get thinner strips. And this is drafting by pulling it without breaking the fibers. So I am going to fold this over. It's not really gonna stay. I'm gonna just smooth it a little bit with my hand. Your hands are the best tool next to the needle. And I'm just gonna poke it into place, and I'm dragging the fiber to get rid of all like the strays, so I can kind of make a smooth line. But when I'm dragging the fiber, I'm not bending the needle. Okay, so now that I have it nicely stuck there, I'm going to pull this around, thin that out, and I'm just gonna hold this with my finger and pull that off, because if we do need it, we'll find out where, but it's not This is nice bright yellow. I can't really see the brown underneath it except for the edges here. So, poke, poke, poke. This is going to come together really quickly. And you can do silly eyes, or you don't have to do eyes at all. Originally, I wasn't going to include white, but I figured why not. So my first kits are pretty simple. I am gonna have some more detailed kits, but I wanted to offer some kits for the Cogshell Wool and Sheep Festival I'm going to in a couple of weeks. So I'm just touching up the directions and the labeling. All the kits are packed. And my other new kit is a sitting hedgehog. And then I still have my happy mushroom, which I redid the directions on, and my simple basic gnome. So here's another strip. I'm just gonna smooth it out with my hand instead of just like placing it on like that. I'm just gonna, you could even give it a roll, because if you give it a light roll, it's not gonna stay permanently, but it is gonna help you create a smoother line. See that? So again, you also have to decide like what end is gonna be the face and what end is gonna be the bum, especially if you want to make a white pointed bum. So that worked out even better by rolling it in my hands for a second. A couple of pokes. Pull this around till it covers about there. And pull off it. You don't have to pull off the extra, you could just keep poking it. But if you're gonna make more than 2 bees, you might want to make sure you're not too generous with the yellow. So bees are really important. There's so many bees, so many different kinds of bees. I hope nobody's allergic to bees. But if you wanted to learn about bees, this is a fun way to safely learn about which ones are brown, which ones are black. The bumblebee is chubby. So see how it's lumpy there? Instead of needle felting it, I'm just gonna roll it in my hands and then smooth it out. Now because this is a natural, this is a thicker fiber, the poke marks really don't show a lot. Nice carded wool. I can see a few. But because I'm only giving you 2 36 needles, you know, you could go over it with your finger and give it a rub. And if you see a lot of frizz coming up after that, you can poke those down. This is going to get played with a lot. You can keep poking it. It'll poke down at about, you know, at least maybe not half the size, but probably a good 25% to 35%. It'll shrink if you keep poking. So I think this is going to be the bumblebee bum. Bum, 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 bum. So what I'm going to do is, using my hand, I'm going to pinch it a little, and I'm going to squeeze as I roll it. See how I kind of just did that? I messed up the yellow stripe. So I'll just go in and realign those fibers. And then I'm just going to poke at the bottom to get it to almost go into a point. And this is going to be the face. There we go. So now we have the white, since we're going to use some of the white. Gonna unroll it. Now I only want this for the, I'm gonna divide it in two. This one's a little bit bigger, but so maybe divide it in two, but then take a pinch off for the eyes for both. I don't even think you're gonna need this much. So I'm gonna start poking. I'm gonna leave a black stripe, and I'm just gonna start poking. Oh, look at that. VM. That's how you know it's real sheep. Real wolf and real sheep get into the grass. Poke this down a little. I'm poking all along the edge because I want this to be nice and secure. I don't want anybody to pull out. So this would make a great keychain. You could dangle it from some string or thread from your window. Before you add the wings and antenna, you could actually wet felt it by rubbing it with hot soapy water and then shocking it with the cool water and going back and forth a few times and squeezing it out and then letting it dry. But I used to wet felt and I haven't in a long time. Straighten out these fibers again. Delete that. You might want to add a little bit of yellow right there, but it doesn't matter. So, I'm going to take one of the antenna. I'm going to put it on the top of his head. Just going to lay it down. Take a little bit of the black fibers. I'm just going to poke it to secure it. Now you could add a dot of glue on the top. because you are going to be able to pull this through, but mine aren't going to get played with. And if they do and they come apart, I'm right here and I can fix it up in a jiffy. So don't forget to stretch your neck and shoulders and wiggle your fingers. You don't want to be clenching for anything for lengths of time. Be gentle with yourself. And gentle with your needles too. We're not making voodoo dolls, no voodoo bees. They're just light poking, that's all you need. I mean, you can stab, but it's really poke, poke, poke. Well, I guess if I make these come down a little bit, it's hot, they don't come out as much. Now, if you wanted them to point upwards, you could just put a little bit more wool underneath where they're coming out. Careful, you don't bend or break your needle touching the wire. Look at that, that's cute. So, see, they don't really need eyes, but you can put the eyes in. I made these into hearts. You could clip them shorter, but I like to have that extra piece, and I like to add the wool over it to secure it. So I'm poking right through the wool felt, and I'm gonna do probably at least a centimeter at the bottom of the heart. And then I want to go on this underneath. I'm going to pull the fibers underneath, and I'm going to grab a little bit of that wool felt and poke it with the same fibers. Then come over here and do it again. So you can make your bee wings any shape. I just gave a basic wing shape, which is just like a heart. And these are fairly big, but you could, you know, make them any size you want. So I line these up with where they came out of the antenna. Like that's where I started poking. I'm gonna have to add a little bit more darker wool to cover this up. See how I made a straight line, and it's just about in line with the antenna. Okay, I'm gonna grab some of that wool, pull it in the back here. Pinch of wool just to cover up any white that's showing through. Oh, there's the outline. That will go away. It's disappearing ink pen. There you go. I made a tail on this one. This little stinger pot. This one, I don't know. I don't think he needs a face. He looks kind of ready to go find some flowers and get some honey, get some pollen and make some honey. Bzzz. This guy is silly and he's got wonky antenna. Oh, they look completely different. Isn't that silly? This one's chunkier. This one's firmer. This one's not as firm, but almost there. There you go. Happy buzzing.